The attention economy is about extracting value from the overall economy to those who can get the most attention. These are industries based on fashion, looks, and political power. Feminists love the attention economy because it enables them to extract large amounts of capital, to control capital, and to directly and indirectly profit off their looks, but also their sex and sexuality. But of course, there are many digital jobs as well, but the overall economy of attention primarily is fundraising. The more attention a group gets, the more funds it gets, the more political power it exerts. It feeds into the political narrative, the modern political narrative of democratization of the workplace, where bosses are controlled by the masses. It is intersectionality at its core, where interest groups who are basically aligned with each other on the principle of hating white people and capitalism. And of course, adding to that is feminists who hate men. It's an unfortunate reality. Many don't admit it, of course, because really, why else would you want to extract resources for giving nothing in return? See, most attention economy is a one-way street. Fundraisers do not provide you with anything other than feelings, and these feelings do not last long, and there are many other ways to get these feelings without feeding the crowd. See, on the individual scale in the attention economy, it's a mutual exchange. At some point, I've entertained you enough and you support me. Or not, but overall, right, on the scale, right, large groups with more attention make more money than small individuals who are often, even apart from a handful, most individuals do not influence the crowd. The audience at the end of the day is seeking validation, not new information. This goes against traditional economic models. Friends and fans, before I continue, I'd like to remind you that this channel is sponsored by you, the viewing audience. EmpireOfElves.myshopify.com. Empire of Elves, one word, myshopify.com is your one-stop shop for enchanting artifacts based on my writing. Stainless steel coffee mugs, stainless steel travel mugs, latte cups, as well as coffee mugs, posters, and bags. Right, so feminist economics is primarily focused on several key assumptions. First is that economic-only activity. So, two assumptions. Right. That the economy is only sustained by maintenance work. Right? Without women doing maintenance work, the entire system collapses. This is cooking, cleaning, caring. Even though men have proven this even though the large amount of single men throughout history have proven them wrong, feminists still assert the fact that they, and they alone, prop up the system, and therefore they are the core value, and they claim to account for 70% of unpaid labour time. Well, so basically, women want to be paid to take care of themselves. They do not see, and will talk about, of course, the biggest hole in their premise is that they mooch off you, right? They want to be paid, but they don't want to pay you for the yard work or anything else. They want to be paid for sex. They want to be paid for cooking. Even when they're single, they want to be paid for everything at labour rates. If they drive someone somewhere, they expect to be paid. Feminists have created this irrational accounting system where they are paid unpaid thousands of dollars in unpaid labour every week. Now, of course, women also complain that they have a power imbalance as caregivers. Never mind that they cannot engage in fair competition in the workforce. So they want to ensure that essential social functions, which they claim is them, cooking, cleaning, and caring, is overcompensated to adjust for the injustices. So how do they achieve this? Well, they turn to the attention economy. And they create bottlenecks. Right? Human attention is a rare commodity. There are only so many platforms. There are only so many hours in the day. And they create artificial popularity using their looks. And the platforms use algorithms to primarily focus humans on that which gets the most attention in their, and of course, their approval. If you do not have platform approval, you won't get to 1,000. You won't get that magical 1,000 subs. I guarantee half of you out there are not going to be daily recommended my videos. I know this because I experimented with my postings. The less I post, the less views I get. The more I post, up to a certain point, the more views I get. Other groups, of course, as they get jealous, stop allowing my posts. So there's an imbalance in the attention economy. Other people's jealousy, other people's rivalry. I'm talking about primarily focused on social media here, where I posted to different Facebook groups. I posted different times on X. I posted different times on smaller platforms. Most of them are just simply overcrowded, or most platforms, they only let your post be seen by a few people. See, platforms want to extract. They don't want to give, they only want to take. Right? They give you a little bit of attention, but if you want lots of eyeballs on your posts, they choose the winners and losers based on who is willing to pay every month for that extra bit of attention. And it's goes with advertising too, on Amazon or anywhere. Okay, it's not just videos. I've experimented with. I've been looking at this, and it's and come across the term digital commodification of labor. Now, this is where the economy, right, extracts from you data and content engagement, right? So the social media platforms, they collect data, They collect all this uh, uh, social engagement. It's called the media matrix, and they sell it to research companies who market research, primarily market to and trend and things like Google Trends. And what happens is the algorithms create marginalization because those who can't pay the toll get marginalized. So the figures are skewed artificially. Those who pay monthly get their reward, and those who pay regular and those that are liked by the platform get what's called targeted advertising. That is, the advertising is deliberately delivered to people whose interests align with the company's potential customers, whereas untargeted advertising is hit and miss, like television advertising. Although they tend to time zone their advertising with, and that's the beginning of algorithms, advertising, what TV shows, what people like. Now, it gets more and more difficult for marginalized communities where they do not have the economic means to advertise. So what happens? They end up becoming aligned with larger groups, such as feminism. And now within feminism, you have intersectionality, where now you have competing groups competing for attention and structural viability. Structural viability is not just membership, but how much participation and economic value the membership provides to the group. Overall, the individual pays, the group benefits. So if you have a large, powerful group like Google, they benefit more than smaller groups because they have the larger attention. And they've monetized attention primarily through advertising. Now, both the digital economy and feminism requires that physical labor at some point occur to generate wealth, but that wealth is then transferred on the desire for either political power or secondary economic value, like advertising. So what happens is more and more attention is monetized. So women have the economic advantage in the attention economy. So feminism has the power in the attention economy because the powers to be who control social media want more attention for themselves, so they give more focus to women because men are the productive. You don't give attention to the productive, you give attention to the gatherer, because the gatherer is extracting wealth, and the wealth automatically gets percentaged to the platform, which is why more and more people are, let's say, marginalized and programmed into groups. Now, intersectionality, of course, creates a bottleneck where those who both have the feminist group and attention, whether it be Jane Fonda or other famous, and this is where the government, political parties, unions. See, the government is various interest groups. You have unions who control the workforce, the bureaucracy. You have government representatives who have the levers of political power, able to pass laws to control the media companies. Therefore, the media companies align themselves with the politicians who are most likely to kiss the media company's ass, and in turn the media company gives attention to those politicians. So you see, it starts to, like within unions. Unions are a large mob, but they have those who have attention, labour activists who hold the paranoid delusions that capital is always keeping you down. Whereas, actually, if you look at the modern capitalist theory, workers with more money spend more money, therefore you want workers who earn more money and in turn are able to afford more goods and services than ever before. And if you, in fact, look at the distribution of wealth, America has the greatest distribution of wealth in the world compared to communist China, where the wealth is concentrated in the hands of the few, to around 10,000, compared to America, where millions have great amounts of wealth. The problem is people just always think the grass is greener on the other side, and so the imbalance creates a attention starved and attention seekers and those who want something to put their eyeballs onto. The need for entertainment is at an all-time high, and we have so many means of entertainment competing for attention now. And so you have GTA creating lots of attention, even though it's a product not out yet. There isn't a person on the planet who has not heard of Grand Theft Auto 6, because there are so many. They've built up over time using anticipation and attention-seeking methods, other attention-seeking methods, particularly with grabbing headlines like suing hackers and drip feeding information, which has other attention seekers salivating because they could then drip feed information and get more views. The more you can talk about a particular subject without research, like GTA 6, the more influences, and that creates. So you have 40, 50, 60,000 people talking every day about GTA 6, and that creates a lot of attention for Rockstar, and that increases their value because more people are going to hear about GTA 6 than the remake of Monkey Island or the fan-made version of Command and Conquer, or any number of feminist games which barely get enough money together to equal the revenue of one porn game. And porn games sell themselves. And one porn game makes more money than. So there are areas where feminist attention seeking doesn't work, and for whatever reason it is, it doesn't. It will take algorithm upon algorithm, but it comes down to personal choice. There's not enough emotionality in a video game or for women, and it's effort. They want low effort. High skill women play games. Low skill women play emotional manipulation. They can't do it for a video game, so they don't like video games. And traditional games such as Monopoly, etc., where, believe it or not, women excel, or puzzle games, not so much women, but do not get attention from a wider audience. But there are people who do, right? Sit there and play Candy Crush for hours, or watch TikTok videos for hours. So those get lots of attention without lots of advertising. But the problem all comes down to, right, mental illness. See, if you are overstimulating your brain with entertainment, it's constantly seeking dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit, that part of your brain that is basically getting high, right, for want of a better word, the the dopey feeling and that warm feeling combined that tells your brain, I feel good now. I will. It turns to relieving themselves sexually, then turning to alcohol and other stimulants, which then become depressants. Um, this is the thing about alcohol; as you rise in the level of alcohol consumption, it goes from stimulant to depressant. Uh, you have this thing called smooth brain, where your brain smooths out the pathways, so the it takes less to get drunk. You get uh, but sorry, it takes more to get drunk. It takes more drugs to get drunk. It takes more attention to get high, and so the enjoyment in life is smoothed out. The path, your brain maximizes its pathways. So it wants to process as fast as it can. So if you do repetitive actions, you could do them blindfolded. You know, like people who come out of the army and they can sit there and still click the stopwatch and pull apart a gun and put it back together without looking, because you've got to be able to do that, right? Got to be able to reload without even thinking. Uh, Depends on what you do. However, there are many other tasks that program your brain efficiently. Like if you want to learn a language, there's immersion products that get you learning quicker, faster, that directly stimulate the brain visually and audio to stimulate the brain. And so uh, people in universities figured out how to do this with YouTube. It wasn't called YouTube then. I forget what Stanford University called it. But when a couple of people graduated university, they were given the task of creating. Many people actually. There was a competition to create visual platforms and to implement what they called the social media algorithm. Now, these algorithms were only released to a handful of people, but they involve keyword identification, key color coding, and um, age bracketing of the audience, because it's all about economics. So, does it not follow that when you digitize the economy, you digitize attention, and therefore you have those who only merely seek to extract from the economy and do not care about the person they're extracting from? So the attention economy benefits highly women with everything, right? Interviewers, uh, other gamers. You look at interviewers, podcasts. Uh, you look at although in gaming, someone you have your news readers. So like you look at gaming, you look at the attention men give to women online, and so each stage very quickly raced to pornography and OnlyFans. And so you have a massive attention economy now. That's 77% geared towards women. And yet somehow they can still turn around, play the victim, and claim society's unfair and it's an unfair patriarchy. Why? Well, to women, the ends justify the means. Their end, right? At the end of the day, women know that their productive time is less than a man's. Their productivity is less than a man's. So they seek to extract more from you because they think that you can always keep replenishing your wealth. But you're going to retire on less unless you can control your spending and stop giving giving attention to women. The less attention they get, the less money they get, the less power they have. And until men break that cycle, you are in a matriarchy. Feminist economics is based on a fundamental flaw that they are owed an economic value for their time, whether it's for someone else or not, because they consider it all economic beneficial to society. It's based on the fundamental flaw and a basic assumption, a basic egotistical narcissist assumption that they must control the economy because they do all the maintenance work. Even though you look at the days of the 50s and 60s where large amounts of people took laundry in major cities, took their laundry to laundromats. They were run by Chinese. They charged very little for their laundry services, and predominantly men. Women did the colour sorting. Women did all the folding of clothes, but the majority of machine operators, and who thus did the majority of the heavy lifting, were men. Now, as the system demanded higher and higher as men demanded higher and higher wages, the system squeezed out those whose productivity or that contributions are not worth, right? You've only got so much money and everything is competing for your dollar. So things you can do yourself are squeezed out of the economy, of the financial economy. So women increasingly become more and more irrational. The more attention someone wants, the more irrational they get. They make stupid arguments. Why? Because these get attention. People talk about the idiocracy more than they talk about anything else. So the global economy is so warped by these political narratives that the fundamental core value of truth is corrupted. You can't tell a woman that her economic activity is only worth a sandwich. That you staying at home, cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the kids, it's not worth half my wages. Not even worth here's your sandwich. Right? You cooked, you get a share of the meal. You'd folded the clothes, good, you contributed to the household. But that doesn't mean you own the house. But this is the problem. Because they have nothing to lose and everything to gain, they have no rational reason to be fair. Which is why the Romans oppressed women. Which is why other societies started to oppress women. Because they were irrational. That they wanted something without the return value. That the family home belonged to the family, not the wife. When you die, the family home still belongs to the family for generations. The farm, everything. It did not belong to the wife. She could not turn around and sell it to go and have a good time. So you have irrationality that was kept in check until democracy. So democracy is the worst system we have. But it's the only one that satisfies the desire for competitive power without violence. Sort of. But as democracy gets more violent, people do look back to the dictatorships and go, you know what? They were better. You knew who the leader was, you knew not to piss off the leader, and you knew what you were getting from that leader. And if you didn't like it, You joined the party system and go through the ranks. If you didn't make it, then your ideas did not appeal to the broad majority. So there was still some form of democracy in a dictatorship, even if you didn't see it. But what we have now is a dictatorship of attention. The larger the group, the more attention it has, the more power they have, and the more they control the means of production. And as I've established before, you, sir, are the means of production that they wish to control. And how much of your time is unpaid does not matter to the feminists, because they only care about her and herself. And in that intersectionality, they have Muslims, gays, Jews, and people of colour, which pretty much means they've united 8/10 of the world against you to extract your value from you, because the minority have value, the majority do not. The majority have value, which is split and cut and distributed. And that's all they want to do, right? Is take and dish it out amongst themselves. And therefore, you have the attention economy going down, because it's spread out more and more as more groups, as individuals and individual core groups within that compete for attention. So you eventually do not have caregivers. You have financially motivated people who do the least to try and get the most out of every day, because that's all they care about, is getting more. But it's a collapsing system, because the productive are saying no. Who relies on the productive giving it to them. So they try to take it by violence. They will lose, and they know it. Because they will turn that intersectional group. Once you probably haven't seen a real civil war. But the Civil War, let's take the Russian Civil War around 1915 to 1917. Sorry, 6 groups tore Russia apart. Then there came the October Revolution. The established government and most of the Union leadership were murdered by the Bolsheviks in a surprise attack by the Red Guard. The Red Guard slaughtered. Now, in reality, this group had been working for decades to put people in the positions of power, influence, and predominantly women. The Chinese done it. Now the feminists are doing it in America. Weaponizing anger, weaponizing people of colour, weaponizing immigrants, all to create power bases for influencers who constantly feed the narcissistic algorithm that you are owed, you're special, you're important, and how do they destroy the population? Well, they destroyed the population by getting women to kill their children. You've been genocided. 60 million. That's more babies killed for abortion than born. And you sit there and take it because you think your freedom is worth more than your existence. Because you're so soaked in that paranoid delusion. Breaking the cycle of the attention economy is so difficult, though. It is extraordinarily difficult. But the tolerance level of the individual, the attention economy is likely to destroy itself, as we saw with the Soviet Union and many other revolutions. You look around the world. How many communists? Look at how many African countries are now democracies. How many communist revolutions? How many? Come on, look at it. They're all faded. They're all killing each other. Most of the so-called free, Still trouble in the Congo, Mali, most of West Africa. Angola is pretty much oppressing Angola. Nigeria is a shithole mess. Zimbabwe has realised they need white farmers because they're the productive farm. They're the productive. So they're going, damn, we want you back. We're gonna let you farm now, as long as you hire as long as they hire so many black farmers every year. So the black farmers go back to their petty little rundown fields. They complain that the ground's hard because they won't till it. They complain there's too many rocks because they won't move them. They complain for everything. But at the end of the day, it's a realization that they can't keep robbing the productive, because when the productive stop working, the economy collapses. So we do have pockets also in China and other countries where it's slowly dawning on people that you can't keep taking money off the productive and giving to the unproductive. But I'm telling you right now, you're going to turn around and go, oh, what happened to New York? Well, since the 60s, you've been murdering children, so there's no white people. Oh, but that was someone else's job. So don't blame others, right? Don't blame women when you didn't stand up to them, when you didn't say no. The more people who say no, the more people who just won't fund OnlyFans, the more who won't fund politicians who cater to feminism, the more you get involved at the grassroots level, the more you give your attention away from feminists and females, the more their economy collapses. Because their economy solely relies on our attention. And by taking it off them, you destroy the matriarchy, because its power relies on the violence of men who think they're going to get something in return. And the more men who realize they're never going to get that return, the more we return to normal, where women have to give something in return for housing, for food. But it's not an investment. It is not, oh, I lived with you for 20 years, you owe me. Nope. The moment you stop loving me is the moment the moment you cheat on me, is the moment you are no longer entitled to live in my house. And even if you financially contribute, my house. Until the rights of man and the property rights of man are honoured and restored and protected, we will have this unfair economy that continues to extract value from us, sell our data and all these other things until you sit down and say, right, my rights of privacy guaranteed, protected by the government. I don't care. But the problem is the government is run by the same narcissistic feminist energy of always wanting more. You have the mantra of the Democratic Party, which is the mantra of women. Imagine what I could do with more. Imagine Elizabeth Warren. Imagine what I could do with Elon Musk money. Well, if you could create Elon Musk money, it's asking you to imagine what they can do with it, because they can't, and they can't imagine how it was made. Elon did. He figured it out. No one else did, or came close. Howard Hughes envisaged huge aircraft corporations, but he just couldn't compete with Boeing. So some of us win, some of us lose. But feminism can't accept that, because by pandering to the ego, there's only winners, and the only losers are the suckers are the suckers who work hard. And again, there are so many things that are trying to get you to give money, like gambling, alcohol, and yes, even video games, where you're spending more and more money for less entertainment. I can guarantee you, penny arcades gave spending $1 a day on penny arcades is probably no different in entertainment value to spending hundreds of dollars a day gambling. The fact that it didn't bring enough revenue, and the government shutting them down to direct people to casinos, because casinos, more money, more revenue. So when we actually use our brains, get collectively, we will have a better economy. We will have better lives. We will have autonomy. The less government we have in our lives, and of course that's why governments appeal to feminism, because female and the desire realize that it's not enough to have the economy. You have to have the control of the economy. So the less you give, the less attention you give to the feminine, the more to the center, or the yin and the yang right themselves. So self-improvement, gentlemen. The path forward is self-improvement. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and support the channel. And support the channel on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. Appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video. Bye for now.